Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I wanted to talk about the reason why I discovered that actually zero is not nothing. So, when we typically think of zero, we think of nothingness, right? Like, what is zero? Zero is not one, it's not something, it's not two, it's not three, it's not four, right? Zero is supposed to be nothing, right? But I was doing this math exercise where I have to go from, for example, -1 to +1, right? So when you go from like negative to positive, you have to take zero into consideration, right? This is called a placeholder, and it's not a number, right? Like it's not a quantity, but you still count it, right? So that's kind of weird. Like, for example, if you go from -1 to +1, you have to go two spaces, right? You have to go from -1, you go to zero, and then from zero, you go to +1, right? So you have to move two spaces. The same thing happens if you go from +1 to -1, right? You have to go two spaces backwards. So I found that odd. I was like, why can't you just go from -1 to 1 in one move, right? Because you would just, you would skip over zero because zero is nothing, right? Why is it taken into consideration? So I did a little bit of digging, and I found out that zero is actually represented in a lot of mathematical or a lot of numerical instances. Like, for example, it's represented in the tens and the hundreds and the, right? So, like, when you have, the difference between like 10 and 100 is a zero, right? So it's nothing, but yet it's the difference between like $10 and $100 or $1,000, right? Also, when you have, for example, 25 as opposed to 205, right? 205. So that zero is nothing, but again, it's the difference between 25 and 205, right? Or 250, right? So even the place of the zero will have a significant impact on the number overall. The binary system is another one. So you have the binary system where it's like 1 0 0 0 1 0 1 1 1 1 0 1 0, right? Like, there's a theory that says that everything is coded in binary system, which is basically like, I think this energy of like positive and negative, kind of like the yin and yang. So, ones represent positive energy, zeros represent negative energy, but you still need that zero, right, to decode things. Like, I think you read it like backwards, right? So like if like you read, I don't remember how it goes, but I think this is how megabytes and gigabytes are done, right? Like if you have 001, I think that's like 16 gigabytes or something like that. There's a way of reading that. It's pretty easy, but I don't remember it right now. And also the X and Y axis, which I thought were kind of interesting. So, if you have a Y and an X axis, and you say, okay, well, this point is gonna be at, I don't know, 2x and 3y or whatever, and you find the point right there. So, you still have a point right at the center, which is, 0 0. So that 0 0 is basically some type of referential point, and that's, I guess, a way you can see zero. Zero means nothing, but at the same time, it's a reference point, right? It's where you start off, kind of like you sort of say, right? So one, for example, is not really the beginning. We could say the real beginning is, zero, where that's nothing. So yeah, I just thought I'd share this, where I used to think, excuse me, excuse the noise if there's noise you could hear. But I thought that zero meant nothing, right? Like, because I used to do that mathematical equation, like from -1 to 1, or from -2 to 3, and I was always like, like I didn't really know what the problem was, but the problem was that I wasn't understanding it because I was thinking of zero as like just skip over zero, but you actually have to take into consideration zero, right? Because it's a placeholder, something they call like you have to take it into consideration when you move from one spot to the other, from negative to positive, right? But yeah, numbers are interesting. And yeah, basically that. Just we have to take into consideration zero as a reference point, right? It's something where we start off from, right? So that's all I got for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for staying till the end, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.